And we continue now with more of my interview with presidential hopeful Senator John McCain and his wife, Cindy. You've called yourself a foot soldier in the Reagan Revolution.
Yes, sir.
All right, when President Reagan took office, we had pretty tough economic times.
Terrible.
The country had just lost 8 million new jobs. Inflation was 12.5%. Interest rates, if you remember, were 21.5%. He dropped the top marginal rates.
By the way, I think unemployment was 10% also.
It was double digits, yes. He dropped the top marginal rates from 70 to 28%. Some liberals said that we'd have a depression. In 8 years, revenues to the government doubled, 20 million new jobs were created, and it was described as the longest period of peacetime economic growth in history.
And let me back up just a little bit for you.
Sure.
Jack Kennedy came to office and said, cut the capital gains tax. They did, and revenues increased. Now Senator Obama, talking to Charlie Gibson said, why would you want to raise capital gains taxes? There's 100 million people involved in that. And he said, because of fairness. Even though, as Charlie Gibson pointed out to him, revenues decrease. He still wants to, quote, be, quote, fair. That's redistribution of the wealth.
Well, explain, if we can, why is it that it would be a bad thing? Maybe you can explain to people that think, oh, well, wait a minute, maybe the rich aren't paying enough, and if I'm going to benefit, why would that be bad for the economy?
History shows us if you raise taxes in a bad economy, you hurt the economy. And there was a president named Herbert Hoover, a Republican. Mm-hmm. They raised taxes, they practiced protectionism, and we went from a serious recession into a deep depression. Mm-hmm. Now, that's a matter of history. The worst time to raise anybody's taxes on anything is when we are in an economic crisis. And finally, when people accumulate wealth, like Joe the plumber, then they hire other people, and then other people are able to move up the economic ladder.
They pay taxes, they buy homes.
That's a fundamental principle of the free enterprise system that we celebrate every day in America. Thank God 300,000 jobs have been created by small businesses, while we lost over 700,000.
Ms. McCain, by the way, it's good to see you.
Thank
and you. You feel, and you were quoted as saying you feel you're going to win. You feel the enthusiasm. You've not been happy with some of the ads that have come out against your husband. You're pretty defensive of him. Mm-hmm. Explain why.
Well, I think many of the ads have misrepresented my husband and misrepresented him in a personal way too. We have serious differences in between these two candidates, and there's a very clear choice for the American people. And it's just important for us now to make sure that we get our message out and make sure that people understand what's the truth.
Well, you know, when it comes to the war, for example, your son was fighting in Iraq. Governor Palin's son is fighting in Iraq. We know your husband's record. Mm-hmm. He's lived every day of his life by his code of conduct, duty, honor, country. That is something that our opponent cannot say that he has done.
Well, what I meant by that is that my husband he truly has lived his life by the code of conduct. He has always put his country first in every measure of everything he's ever done. That was not a criticism of Senator Obama by any stretch. It was just a matter of me talking about the truth and what I believe is the truth of my husband and his conduct and how he's led his life. And that's also what he's instilled in our children, not only our sons, but our entire family. They're both good men. That was in no way anything meant.
Because you've been attacked even personally. The New York Times apparently is not big fans of the McCains. But one story that I found the most compelling about you is the story of your adoption, and you didn't tell Senator McCain until you came home. Why don't you tell us that story? That's a personal side.
Well, I at that time was working in Bangladesh with my medical team, and I was working. Part of what we were doing was working at Mother Teresa's orphanage. I stumbled upon these two little babies, and one of them had a severe cleft palate, and another one had a little heart condition. And Mother Teresa's her nuns are very persuasive, and they said, you can get them out. And I was able to get them out, and really, literally on board the aircraft home, I realized she had picked me. I couldn't give her up, but I didn't have time to call my husband and tell him.
So you get off the plane.
I stepped off the plane in Phoenix and introduced him to his new daughter. That is a true story.
She's now 17, is doing wonderful.
All right, Governor Palin, I'll ask you both this question. The mini army went up to Alaska to try and dig up dirt on Governor Palin. Her family, her children have been attacked. More recently, her clothes. I think the media spent more time attacking her children and her clothes than they did investigating an issue I've been concerned about, the relationship with Bill Ayers. What is that? What do you think of that?
Oh, I think it's all nonsense. My gosh, we have very important issues facing this country, and this is the kind of stuff the media is focusing on. What about our troops? What about our economy? What about their vision for the country? That's what we should be talking about. Yeah. I think the whole thing is nonsense.
It should go after me. I don't pay for my clothes. Fox does. So, but
I just mentioned one other thing. You know, there's going around that there's differences between myself and Sarah Palin. We're very close. We're both mavericks. There are a couple of things we disagree on. In fact, you are on her side
on energy
on one of them.
Yeah.
On one of them. But look, did you expect two mavericks to agree on every single thing? I'm so proud of her. Listen, she and I share the same principles, the same values, the same vision for America, and I couldn't be more proud of her and the job she's done.
Coming up.